one of the most unusual pieces of information that's happened all week. You might miss it, and that is the strange occurrence that happened at the Kentucky Derby. We're going to do a little deeper dive than usual because something strange happened there, and I think that all this portends a positive note regarding things that are unfolding in the future. Plus, we're going to go into the in-depth analysis of what's really happening with the people, the money, and the sources behind the backlash against the Supreme Court. And where is it going in the United States? I think you'll be encouraged to see some of the stories that we're going to share with you today will confirm your intuition that God is on the move and things are changing. Join us in this broadcast. Hey, this is so exciting today. I'm so excited to be able to do this show. And I've got to tell you something. I am going to share with you some stuff you haven't heard on any other Christian network, the kind of news that is missed. But people demand from me in our oh boy coffee mug segment. By the way, you can get your oh boy coffee mug as well as your other Lance Wallnau show merch at lancewallnau.com/merch, MERCH, including our cool hats. We had a discussion. Jonathan is with me today. Jonathan, was it you or was it my son Carl who was saying there are people that try to keep these little insignias on their hats? You see, like they don't take them off. I don't know why that is, but it just says it's, whatever.
That was with Carl, but I do know what you're referring to.
Yeah.
I think those are primarily for more high-end hats.
Jonathan.
Wait a second. Oh yeah. Okay.
You're paying top dollar for some of these hats.
Oh, you mean people aren't going to keep the
quality of our hats is
adjustable? I guess this isn't really that classy a notation. It's adjustable. How stupid is that? Of course the hat's adjustable.
Not all hats are adjustable, but I just don't
Our hats are adjustable.
I don't appreciate Jonathan's insinuating that our hats are not high quality.
Well, I mean, I get, but his point is that if they're NBA or if they're like celebrity hats, like I have, that's why they keep them.
Yes.
Like it says, best or all pro series or something.
Yes.
Whereas ours just says it's adjustable.
There's one on the bottom too. There's another.
Anyway, I'm wearing my hat today. We have a variety of colors. Do you know that Donald Trump actually at Mar-a-Lago, they interviewed his groundskeeper trying to find dirt on him. And trying to find dirt in the groundskeeper would be easier. But anyway, so the groundskeeper said, I'll tell you this about Mr. Trump. We have a warning system on the property. When he's wearing his red hat, we leave him alone. When he's wearing his white hat, he's in a good mood. So I don't think Trump does it on purpose, but he picks the red hat. Isn't it interesting? His MAGA hat was red. He was in a fighting mood for that whole campaign, but he has a white hat on. And you'll notice this. If you ever see the Mar-a-Lago pictures of him, when he's got the white golf cap on, he's laughing and cajoling. He's relaxed. And if it's the red hat, he's doing business. He's out there. He's negotiating. So here's what I want you to say. What news are you getting today that you don't get in other places? Well, I just told you one thing. It's lancewallnau.com/merch. You can get these plus the oh boy mug. You don't want to miss that. But you get 10% off at all of our tables, too. So when we do products and events, we do some of these big events these days, especially with some of the arenas and stuff. So you can go up there, and if you got the hat on, you have to have it on before you get to the table. The 10% off of all the products. But what I want you to talk about right now, I want you to know about the Kentucky Derby. Now, I'm not one of those prophetic types that sees significance in every Super Bowl. I mean, there are people that get off on that, and I understand that. You can kind of read meaning into anything. But this one is a real moving story, and it's about a owner of a horse stable which had like 24 of these thoroughbred, high-end, that you pay millions of dollars for these horses that are in these races. And the stable had a fire, and all like 24 of his horses were killed. And he was just going to quit and give up. But with the little money he had left, he went and got a hold of one horse for like $30,000. This is in a league where $1 million horses are common. He gets that $30,000 horse, and he can't even get into the Kentucky Derby because the horse has no pedigree, no history, no other than the fact that it can run. But then a last-minute cancellation from a horse gives him a chance, like 20 minutes before, just to stick a placeholder in so that all the lanes are occupied. And in comes, the name of this horse is?
Rich Strike.
Rich Strike. So it's a rich strike. And what's great is you hear the newscaster. So I just watched this before the show, and it just made me happy because I'm looking at this guy who's suffered loss, ends up investing in an inexperienced, nobody knows what to expect, cheap horse. But the horse looks like it's having a hoot. It's sitting there running, and it's like, hey, guys. It's like looking at the other horses. Hey. It's like a cartoon character. And it runs. What's funny is the announcer is looking at the first 3 lanes of activity. And meanwhile, so it's running up and is describing all the activity between the 2 or 3 horses that are clear. But the TikTok follows this little guy from the corner, the worst possible spot, as he's running through the other guys saying, hi, everybody, this is fun. And he goes all the way to then you hear like the shocked announcer having to cover, who's this horse coming in out of nowhere? Boom, wins it. What a story. Can we show this, Mercedes?
Let's do it.
In 1 minute, 10 and 4/5 seconds, and now Epicenter comes splitting horses and is moving up quickly as Crown Pride takes the lead around the far turn. It is Crown Pride battling with Messier. They're stride for stride. Epicenter and Zozo's in behind them. Cyberknife swings up on the outside. Sandon gets the rail run, and they're into the stretch. And it's Messier, Crown Pride, then Epicenter is coming up on the outside. Epicenter has taken the lead as they arrive into the final furlong. Sandon is coming after him. Epicenter and Sandon, these two, stride for stride. Simplification down the outside is next. They're coming down to the wire. Epicenter, Sandon, Rich Strike is coming up on the inside. Oh my goodness, the longest shot has won the Kentucky Derby.
Lance, this was 80-1 odds. If you had put money down, it was 80-1 odds. This horse should never have won. Never. And like you're saying, like it's so amusing because if you're on the podcast, you can't see it, but he makes his way from the back of the pack. He's literally in the worst lane. He's got to cut through like 20 other horses. So you kind of see him finagling his way through. And then all of a sudden it's like he starts passing horses and he's like, hey guys, he's like looking at the other horses like, is this what we're doing today? Oh, I got to get up there. And even the jockey had never even competed.
Jockey, that's so great. The jockey was inexperienced.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, hold it on.
Could you imagine? And it looked effortless too. Like if you see the video, it's just like he's like, look.
It does, and it looks. I'm telling you, it could have been a cartoon character. Hey, this is fun. Are we supposed to be in the front? I'll hurry up. I don't want to miss this show. But I'm going to get the names. Maybe the prophetic significance. If I could dig a little bit, Jonathan, find out who were the top 3 horses. It was Epicenter, and I didn't catch the other names. So you have to look them up there, Jonathan, and then let us know whenever you find them. We're going to try to stitch together the significance. Now, the idea of rich strike is interesting because I want you to think about this. People, wealth gets a bad rap because a lot of Christians are conflicted about money in the first place. They almost pride themselves in making sure they're never defiled with it. And so there's this weird kind of poverty thing we always have to fight. But look, Elon Musk has shaken things up by his ability to buy Twitter. We're always battling the Bill Gates vaccine fanaticism and the George Soros invasion of Western civilization, but then you got billionaire Donald Trump showing up as your populist candidate. It's the billionaires that are battling. Do you see the battle of the billionaires, folks? And it's Putin over there, probably one of the richest, crime families on earth. But then the Ukraine is the number 4th most corrupt country in the world. And what do we do with our dunderheads and ignoramuses in Washington? Can't fix a pothole on the border with Mexico, but funnel $40 billion into the pockets of oligarchs over there in Ukraine. It's maddening. And I'm believing the rich strike is going to be that God's going to start to strike through the realms of these rich people and raise up some surprise winners that are going to be at the epicenter of history. Give me the names, Jonathan. What are the names of the other horses?
All right, so we've got in first place, obviously, Rich Strike. Second place was Epicenter, as you knew. And then third place was a horse named Zandon.
Zandon.
Yes.
Zandon. Well,
Fourth
we're
was
going to have a...
Simplification.
What does Zandon mean?
Oh, I'll have to take that look. But
Come on, Jonathan.
Fourth
Your
place,
job is to give us the information.
fourth
Zandon.
place
What can
was
I do with that?
Simplification.
Huh?
Fourth place was Simplification, which I found.
Oh, fourth place was simplification. Oh, okay. So once we figure out Zandon, we know at the epicenter is the simplified plan. Zandon could be nothing more than the ruler of the planet Zargon.
Mm-hmm. You know what I think is important about this too? I think it's a great life lesson. It's not about your starting position. It's not about being the biggest and the best. It's not about having the best money behind you.
Come on, people.
And everything is really about opportunity. And it's like, here's this guy, one horse scratches, and so he gets into the race. I mean, if this isn't a David and Goliath,
if this isn't
a hero
rags to
narrative,
riches, David and Goliath, grassroots over, the Tower of Mordor, the hobbits defeat Sauron. This is what we love to hear in America.
it is. It's an overcoming story. It's the underdog story, which is most Americans come from nothing, work their way up.
And if you pray, you too can win the what's it called?
The Kentucky Derby.
Kentucky Derby. No, I'm not going that far. None of us bet, but that would be a weird bet.
You know,
Like,
there was some all the celebrities go, and there was some interviewer there, and Bobby Flay, the celebrity chef, they had all the horses in a hat, and he picked out Rich Strike, and he goes, "Oh yeah, like this guy's gonna win."
No,
Like,
stop
yeah,
it!
yeah,
Oh no,
before the race.
find that footage.
All right, I'll look for
we want to find that one and put it on national television. 750,000 downloads a month, making this one of the most popular, controversial podcasts for the populist movement. We are the Christian populist movement, people. That's the name of my show, Christian populism. As soon as we figure out what that means, we'll tell you.
You know, everybody talks about being prepared. What happens when the bubble bursts? What happens when the dollar collapses? Are you ready? Are you prepared? Do you have emergency food kits? Do you have gold and silver? I want to talk to you about something you might not have heard of yet, and it's called hydroponic gardening. And it is one of the coolest things I have secretly fallen in love with over the last 8 to 9 months. I have an entire gardening system, and let me tell you what, it's enough food not to just feed my family, but to feed my neighbors. I have 36 different types of plants growing in this thing. I have lettuce, I have beans, I have strawberries, I have so many different things, and it's just one more tool in my arsenal to making sure that I'm ready to take care of my family and my friends and my neighbors if need be. And so I want to tell you about it. It's this really cool system. It's called Let Us Grow. And if you're interested in finding out more and finding out how you can have one of these, it grows vertically. It's a hydroponic garden. You might not even know what that means. It's an entire system where it's just water-based. There isn't a ton of dirt. You don't have to worry about bugs and pests or anything like that, because you can actually do this in your home, which means you can grow plants year-round. It's so cool. I just did it through the entire fall and winter. And like I said, I have just had such abundance with it. So I want you to check it out. You can go to lancewallnau.com/garden and get all of the details on the Let Us Grow system. And be sure you stay tuned, because I just put one together for the office, and it took me less than 10 minutes to put the entire system together. And it just snaps together. You fill it up with water. You give the plants their nutrients. 30 minutes per week is all you're looking at for maintenance. So I'm telling you, go check it out. I'm going to have before and afters on the screen when I'm talking about this, so you can see the type of abundance I'm talking about. Be prepared. Go to lancewallnau.com/garden to find out more.
All right, so now, just to get this straight, we're looking at the Kentucky Derby winner, possible significance of the name, but I think Rich Strike is going to be a challenge for us. We're going to have the top 3 placement winners. We've got Epicenter came in number 2, Zandon number 3, and Simplification number 4?
Correct, yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm working on that. So tell us about Zandon. What do we know about Zandon? That sounds like a name of a baby.
Yes, so I was unfortunately unable to find the specific meaning for the name Zandon, but I did see that the namesake of Zandon was from somebody. Let me see what it says. A gentleman that the owner of the horse knows, who owns a contracting company in Minnesota, mentioned while they were riding together that he owned racehorses. And then they were trying to come up with a name, and he said, "I bet there hasn't been a horse named Zandon," and if it was okay with him to take it. And he said, "Sure, I'll go ahead and name him that." So that's kind of the meaning behind it, behind the name, but we don't have the meaning of the name.
Well, we're not even going to attempt to try to make any sense of this. At the epicenter of our conversation, we need simplification, but Zandon's thrown us off and derailed my whole prophetic thought. So I'm just going to go to Mercedes. We do know that you find these random little tidbits, like you brought that up today. And I'm not saying that your research techniques are random. I'm saying that they do give us some interesting insights. Do you have anything else to go with this?
I found the Bobby Flay clip, so I could play that.
Now, Bobby, just for guys like me that don't follow Bobby Flay, what's Bobby Flay is?
He's a celebrity chef. I think he's normally in Iron Chef on the Food Channel. So
Okay, so he's a everybody knows who he is except for guys like me who don't watch the Food
I
Channel.
think a lot of your female audience would know who Bobby Flay is.
I'm sure you do, ladies. Let's go see what Bobby says.
Yeah.
Which strike? This horse is not winning.
To the inside, it's a wild finish in the Kentucky Derby, and on the wire, Rich Strike does it!
So the punchline here is he facetiously pulls it out because he knows, pulls the name out of a hat and says, "This is definitely not winning." And it had won like 80 to 1.
Yeah.
If he had put $100 on just for fun.
Yeah.
God could be giving you the winning ticket, and then you mock it and end up regretting it.
Totally. There are a lot of people lost money on a lot of money on that.
Well, I'm glad to see that. Well, we didn't lose any because we didn't bet any.
No, but I saw some other TikToks of people who bought like $4 million on like Epicenter. It was not good.
Well, no, Epicenter placed. Epicenter came in like second or third.
I don't know how that works. Do you win if like?
Well, you sure you
come in
still
second, third?
you get something for picking it. It just doesn't. I don't think it works. Well, I don't know. What do I know?
You know what I like? Do you know what I like?
I think
the
I'm
most
going to
about
call
Lamb?
Ralph Malucci over here and ask him how it works.
I like that you say things with such confidence. It's believable. I was almost like, really? Like, I'm impressed if you really know that.
You can bet to show or to place. And if you bet to place and it places second or third, not that I would know. But if you bet it to place or to show, you win differently. It's kind of like poker.
I believe
you know?
You know so much. I'm always impressed by the random things you know. And I'm
No,
like,
no. Let me tell you what she's saying now. This is a veiled compliment. Now, it sounds nice when you hear yes, okay. You're always impressed with it. But what you don't know is she questions me on everything till I prove myself right. Then she reluctantly concedes. This happens all the time.
No, what you're not seeing is the 15-minute conversation we just had off camera while we pressed pause to find the name of Zandon. And it almost came out with the whole story about how the horse drowned
It's
and somebody
understandable if you hear my side of it, which we edited out of the program. She's reading about how the owner of the horse that placed third,
of Zandon, yeah.
Zandon, the guy's name is Drown.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing her talk about how the owner went on an elk hunting trip with a guide whose name was Zandon, and then the owner, I hear the word drown, and decides to name the horse after the guy that was. So I was prepared to bring the news to you that this name has a tragic origin. It comes from a guide on an elk hunting trip who drowned, which was some wild elk hunting trip, if you asked me. I've been on elk hunting trips. I never crossed the rapids with my gun over my head and got swept away. So then she pointed out the last name of the owner of Zand
is Drowned.
Is Drowned.
Yeah.
That's not the guy drowned.
Yeah.
So it's an easy mistake. My point is anyone could have made that mistake. I'm sure you'd agree. Let's go on to other mistakes. Biden's approval rating is underwater. He's drowned also. All right, let's go.
Gosh, that's really convenient.
All right, but let's talk about Rand Paul. Do we have any? I love footage of Rand. I love Rand Paul because I remember Donald Trump attacking him for his hair, But remember those days? It was trivial. Now we found these guys are fighters in the same arena. And Rand Paul, God bless him, I love this guy. Kentucky, you did a good job with him. Speaking of the Kentucky Derby.
It's all coming together.
It's coming together. Like a blueprint coming to me as I meditate. Camera, come back. See, when I'm doing things like this, you should go close in on me. I'm doing special hand signals to my audience. This is when I'm fine-tuning my thinking. See, that's when you want to get the close-up. Close-up. Get the merch, too, Lance Wallnau Show. Would you please share with us the Rand Paul moment when he takes on the Biden disinformation board? I love Rand Paul. He's going after Fauci. He's going after disinformation. I like this doctor.
Senator Rand Paul is here right now. All right, so, Senator, what are you guys going to do about this?
We're going to shut it down. I'm busily getting signatures from other senators. There is a way that we can get it onto the calendar, and there's perhaps a way we could actually get a vote. It's not very easy when the Democrats control things, but I'm going to do everything I possibly can to get a vote to defund this organization. Boy, is it not with amazement you see how far that they've come from Kennedy's Democrat Party. This is not your grandfather's Democrat Party anymore. So much for the marketplace of ideas. They have decided that they're going to determine what disinformation is. But my point to Mayorkas was this. We had a $32 million Mueller investigation to see if there was collusion between Russia and Trump. There wasn't any. And yet the Steele dossier, upon which they based this all on, which was given to Steele by Russians, it was Russian disinformation. If they can't admit that that's disinformation, it was propagated by CNN for years and years. If they can't admit that, how could they possibly do the job of policing disinformation? Now, I don't think it's a job that you could possibly do. So even if you could, and they admitted that it was disinformation, I'd be against policing CNN. People can turn the channel when they see that CNN doesn't care about the truth. But I would not police CNN. I'm against policing.
Okay. We get the point. I thought we had some footage of him actually doing the Mayorkas moment there. Don't we have some footage of him actually cross-examine? I mean, that's good, but this happens. This is Walter's broadcast. Let me just point something out. $32 million should make you furious. 2 years. By the way, that $32 million, 2 years of coverage with those sniveling swine flu, spokespeople on CNN. But you got Rachel Maddow with her ratings every night, blathering away. And who's the comedian that drives me nuts? The British guy with the glasses, John Oliver. I want to have all the footage we can find of them slam dunking Russian collusion on the American people's heads for 2 years, which is what hurt Trump in the midterms, that put the nut jobs into Congress, that screwed us up so bad that we're now $33 trillion into debt. And what I'm saying is the Biden laptop plus Russia, the Biden laptop where 51 people, Brennan, who shouldn't even still be influencing anybody. The guy should be, eventually, this has got to have an Esther moment when Hamans are brought out to be exposed. 51 intelligence agent co-conspirators all said, we don't think the laptop is legitimate. 51. They should all be exposed and fired from public service. We're paying billions of dollars for these swamp creatures to control information. Then they're coming out and they take Trump off of social media. Twitter kills the story. You can't find out about the Biden laptop. You know what I want? I want disinformation. I want the Disinformation Bureau dismantled and a legitimate Disinformation Bureau installed. And maybe it should be, maybe there's another way to do this thing. And there should be an expose, because you cannot run a democracy when Google will not even put 2,000 mules to Nishna Souza's expose, when we can't even get a movie advertised. And do you know what they're doing every day? These corporations are screwing Americans every day. We're going to start to expose the wheel of woke is coming out, people, because these corporations now, you can't even give to Project Veritas. There's a major company right now that refuses to allow donations to Project Veritas. If you want to, you can't give that corporation your money. You can't put your money through their bank. These banks are going to have to get disciplined.
I found a clip. You want to play the main?
All right, show me the latest.
policies? Do we have guardrails? Do we have standards?
But here's the problem. We can't even agree. We can't even agree what disinformation is. You can't even agree that it was disinformation, that the Russians fed information to the Steele dossier. If you can't agree to that, how are we ever going to come to an agreement on what is disinformation so you can police it on social media? I think you've got no idea what disinformation is, and I don't think the government's capable of it. Do you know who the greatest propagator of disinformation in the history of the world is? The U.S. government. Are you familiar with McNamara, the Pentagon Papers? Are you familiar with George W. Bush and the weapons of mass destruction? Are you familiar with Iran-Contra? I mean, think of all the debates and disputes we've had over the last 50 years in our country. We work them out by debating them. We don't work them out by the government being the arbiter. I don't want you guardrails. I want you to have nothing to do with speech. You think we can't determine, you know, speech by traffickers is disinformation? You think the American people are so stupid they need you to tell them what the truth is? You can't even admit what the truth is with the Steele dossier. I don't trust government to figure out what the truth is. Government is largely disseminating disinformation.
Amen. We don't want guardrails from you. We want you to have nothing to do with policing freedom of speech. You're the worst people, the last people I would trust. You and the Communist Party and maybe Putin's advisors on social media. I don't want any of you in charge of policing American speech. You and the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab. I don't want any of you near speech. Well, that's my thoughts on that. We're going to shut it down, Rand Paul says. And I think that after November, we could see a serious, you know, blocking of all this stuff. But, you know, the story that is really any thoughts on this, Mercedes, while I'm about to wrap up that segment?
No, it's great. I'm good. I just want to talk about the Supreme Court justices.
That's where I was going next. Go ahead. You can lead it, and that's where I was heading.
Oh, I just have footage. Like, I got a lot of footage today of them protesting in front of the Supreme Court justices'
you know, first
house.
of all, you know what we got to deal with, folks? We got to deal with these universities. They are putting out the pollution factory. If you want to do climate change and worry about global warming, we got to deal with the mind pollution coming from the universities. They're producing 50 million conveyor belt nuts on the street every year, indoctrinated in their Marxist theology, their woke value system, their transgender crusades. Young kids are being sent away to have their minds perverted, muddied, and then weaponized as social justice warriors. So on the streets outside of the homes of Supreme Court justices, you're looking at the insurrection funded by the Planned Parenthood mob money. They've got, looks to me, when I hear their voices, it sounds to me like a field trip, like a freshman class field trip of young people recruited to march in the angry streets of residential neighborhoods with the megaphone and the shouting and the foot stomping of the little platoons of activists that are going to the homes of these conservative justices to threaten them. And by the way, apparently it's a neighbor of Kavanaugh, they say, that organized this. But who knows if that's disinformation.
That's what Jonathan was saying. Jonathan, what was the story on that?
Well, it's actually in one of the articles as well, where they were saying that specifically Brett Kavanaugh's neighbor was commenting and organizing part of the protest outside of his house.
Nut job. It's like the neighbor that attacked Rand Paul, ran across his lawn, busted 2 ribs, and attacked him on his lawn. I'll tell you what, man, I hate to say it, but you can't live in a gated community and protect yourself. You actually need to protect yourself from your neighbors.
Was that his neighbor who did that?
Yeah, Rand Paul's neighbor, man. He had lung damage, busted ribs from a neighbor who just didn't like the fact that he was seemed like he was pro-Trump.
Wow.
And it Rand Paul's own neighborhood. Gosh, I understand you people that get these dogs. You're a little bit nutty. Some of my preacher friends have 2 and 3, like, attack dogs with them at all times. Me, I just have Mercedes, and she says she's packing. That's all I need to do is keep. Annabelle's going to start going to the rifle range, too. That'll be fun. I have on the left and right of me. It's like Charlie's Angels. All right, so what have you got there on the video camera there?
Oh, I have the protesters if you want me to play it. Like you said, the field trip.
The field trip. Let's do the field trip to Brett Kavanaugh's neighborhood.
Keep abortion
think it's just a lot of this. You know what I'm thinking?
I don't know.
Though?
They don't look so threatening. There's hardly an Antifa crowd out there. It's more like the women's lunch.
I guess what I don't understand is that abortion still is safe and legal in about 24 states.
Yeah, well, let me just say this real clear now. They had William Barr was on the Jesse Waters last night, and he was asked about these folks that are showing up in the residences, the neighborhoods of these justices. And Barr said, that's not a valid form of protest because it's a violation of the law. There's a time and place for protests. And the federal statute makes it clear if you go to the house of a judge, the residence of a judge, to influence the judge in his decisions and to demonstrate that you're committing a federal crime. He added, it's a state crime in the state of Virginia, at least, to do that. So those are not valid forms of protest. They're obviously meant to intimidate. There's a parallel between January 6th, which Republican leadership condemned the violence there, the forceful entry into the Capitol and the fighting with police. But what was really bad about that was an attempt to intimidate the Senate and the vice president carrying out their duties. What's happening now, while not as much violence has been involved yet, is no different. It's an attempt to interfere and to intimidate the officials who are carrying out their duties. Therefore, I say they should treat it like an insurrection. I want to see the police. I want to see the barricades. I want to see the news media. I want to see the FBI go after these people, go to their homes like they did with the people that went to the Capitol, and take the moms and dads and hail them in and spend a night in the jail system to think about, in solitary confinement, to think about what it means when you go into the neighborhood of a judge and show up at their house and protest them. Who's the money behind that one? Who organized it? What nonprofit organized? They went after the Proud Boys. They went after the one percenters. They went after the Oath Keepers. I'm sure we have FBI agents embedded in that group right now, monitoring their dangerous activities. I'd like to see if they treat this thing with the same degree of theater that they did January 6th. They haven't gotten violent yet. I guess that's the key. Although they do have Planned Parenthoods that have been attacked. They do have property that's been attacked. They have churches that... How much violence has to be done to justify the threshold of breaking a law when it's already a law? I'm fed up with it, people. Justice Alito has had to be moved to an undisclosed location this weekend as a precaution safety. Left-wing activist group Shut Down D.C. Who's funding Shut Down D.C.? Why don't they ever go after these groups? Would this be like a Soros-funded operation, a Rockefeller-funded operation, a Tides-funded operation, a Democracy Alliance operation? Let's learn about these things. They organized an event, and they're going to have, let's see, hey, listen, they organized this invasion. Get this, the chutzpah of these people. These pro-abortion radicals are actually showing up at Alito's house. And they're doing it as an organization. They're not even doing it as, they're doing it as Shut Down D.C. And so they've got themselves advertised there, like with their what? Their Twitter advertisers and RSVPs. I don't see Twitter shutting them down. So Alito was reportedly moved. Protests have erupted across the nation this past week following the leak of a draft opinion that would overturn Roe v. Wade. While most demonstrations have consisted of pro-abortion activists this last week, pro-life activists have also been present, including showing their support for Alito outside his home. So I guess that's what's got to happen. We got to have the pros and the cons waking up the neighbors.
Yeah, I'd love to see that organized, you know, like we do every February for the Right to Life March. I'm just wondering if these pro-life organizations are going to organize something like that, you know, to go show up and let them know that, hey, we support this. I mean, in the Alito's opinion that he wrote, you know, there's 26 states that have asked for this to be overturned, that have written to the Supreme Court that said, please overturn this. We want this to become a states' rights issue again. So I'd like to see, you know, our side up there and representative just as much as the opposite.
Yeah, for some reason, Kavanaugh gets more demons manifesting. Because they're saying that his are more violent outside his house than, that could have been an Alito group right there. Yeah. The ones, oh, here we go. I'm looking at some of these people. Atheists against God, leftist, feminist, atheist, vegan, pro-life. That's the signs I'm seeing there outside of Kavanaugh. Well, But Lindsey Graham and those guys say, I don't think any of this is going to change the outcome. That's why they just go ho-hum back to business. They're busy spending $40 billion on trying to get you in a nuclear war with Russia. They got other fish to fry.
What I don't understand, though, is when this law was passed 50 years ago, we didn't have imaging like we do today. You couldn't do a 3D ultrasound. If you wanted to say, hey, it's a clump of cells in there, people would just have to assume you're right. We didn't have DNA testing like we do today to say, actually, it's a completely different DNA. It's completely different. It could be a completely different blood type. So for you to say it's a part of your body, just like a liver that you could take out of you, that's not accurate. Scientifically, it's not accurate. In fact, I know there's a lot of people outside of people who believe in a monotheistic God, Jews, Muslims, Christians, that would say abortion is wrong. There's actually a decent amount of atheists who also say, hey, just on a biological level, we know that this is another human inside of us. And genetically, biologically, this isn't where the choice should be made. The choice isn't end a human life. The choice is don't have unprotected sex. That's when the choice is made. Don't have casual sex. Because the instances, Lance, of rape and incest and like that, I think it's like 1% of all abortions. So anyways.
These people, I'll tell you, these people and the unprecedented publication of Samuel Alito's draft, Chief Justice John Roberts said Thursday, it's appalling. But listen to this. It sparked activists to call for the storming of Catholic churches on Mother's Day. And storming of Catholic churches on Mother's Day. I don't recall any storming of Catholic churches on Mother's Day. Did that go on?
I haven't seen that.
I don't know. You want to be careful with those Irish families, They had those, remember, over there, wasn't it Northern Ireland? They were blowing things up. You don't want to leave the Irish alone. You don't want to provoke them too much. So, but this is one of the court's most effective conservative members, Thomas, spoke hours after militant pro-choice activists doxed him and 5 other Supreme Court justices, meaning they exposed their home residents, they exposed their families. Why is there no prosecution of these people that do these exposés? It's really going to, there is a groundswell of anger in America the left would do well to pay attention to. When somebody is traumatized, they'll submit. But once they recover their senses, they develop resentment and anger at the thought of further abuses. And the American public, the populist movement, the majority of Americans are watching the shenanigans of the left outrage machine with far different eyes than they did when Trump was in office and we were befuddled by George Floyd and scared about the psychic scarring over racism and watching statues coming down with young college students and didn't understand what was going on. Then we were solitary, locked up for fear of the plague getting us and our children. Churches were shut down. It was just then looking at the election and then the post-election cast, January 6th. We just got beat one time after another after another. But now the fog is lifting, and we see it was a theft of an election. It's more clear than ever. And we look at the manipulation of COVID from the government. We look at the Wuhan leak as being a valid theory rather than a conspiracy theory, and we're getting fed up. And I'm telling you something, God has not given up on America because he's not allowing this thing to continue, but I think he's provoking us to rise up. It's a provocation. It's as though the enemies of Israel have provoked God's people. You give me the land the plane signal here? What? I'm getting dystopian? I'm getting upset?
No, we're just at 40 minutes and we got one more interview to do.
This is the hand signals. You hear, I'm on a roll like this where I'm processing my deepest, most innermost thoughts.
If you want to do an interview with Brittany, she had said...
I've got an interview. Folks, we have to end this show right now. I've been glad you've been with me, but I want to remind you of something. If you love that man who we've come to appreciate as Mike Lindell, the Patriot with the Pillows, you want to go back to mypillow.com, use the promotion code Lance because we want to support Mike. It's not just the slippers and the bathrobe and the Giza sheets and the bed for your dog, too. It's the fact that this guy has been brutally assaulted by the big box companies, and we've got to recover America, and I think we're being forced to do it. We're reorganizing every day to put guys like him into business and to punish, dare I say, those woke corporations that so hate you and your values that they'll take your money while they use their profits to destroy you. That is coming to an end in America. That's what the populist revolt is all about. We're going to be back with you tomorrow. We're going to give you coverage on news. By the way, we're going to be in Atlanta. The Flash Point team, we're going to go down there. We're going to rent out 12,000 square feet of space in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's going to be, I think, on July 1st or something like that. I'll let you know when it is. But we're going to be going to these different events, and we're going to see Mario Murillo's Crusades unwrapping, unrolling all over the country. We're going to be doing this stuff. So stay tuned, because you're part of a movement that's taking territory. See you again tomorrow. On behalf of Mercedes and Jonathan, God bless you.
If you like this broadcast, why not leave a like and a comment in the App Store? To find out more or contact us directly, please visit LanceWallnau.com.